All right, listener, ready for another deep dive. This week we're taking a look at the Eastern Conference, and man, things are getting interesting. Playoff race is heating up, that's for sure. We've got summaries, articles, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, looks like a busy week, huh? Big wins, some upsets, and those injuries. Those could really shake things up.
Definitely. Okay, well, first up, we've got the Bucks and the Pacers. On paper, you might think easy win for Giannis and the Bucks, right? But the Pacers, they put up a fight. Final score, Bucks 120, Pacers 112.
Yeah, and it's funny because while Giannis had a huge night, offensively, 34 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists, it was the stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet that really made the difference, I think.
Now you've got me curious. What do you mean?
Well, think about the third quarter.
Yeah.
Giannis drives to the basket, pulls in 3 Pacers defenders, but instead of forcing a shot, he kicks it out to Middleton. Wide open, three-pointer, Middleton sinks it. And that's the Bucks strategy in a nutshell, inside out.
Ah, so it's Giannis's gravity, right? He pulls everyone in, and that opens up those high percentage shots for his teammates, like basketball chess.
Exactly. And the Pacers, they just couldn't adjust. So focused on Giannis, they left everyone else open. Easy baskets.
Makes sense. Okay, well, speaking of high-scoring games, the Celtics took down the Heat, 115 to 108. Tatum, unstoppable, 36 points and 10 rebounds.
Oh, Tatum was on fire for sure. But it was a total team win.
Yeah.
Celtics' ball movement was incredible. There was this one play in the fourth quarter. They were just swinging that ball around the perimeter, 5 passes, bam, bam, bam. Everybody touches it. And the Smart's open for 3 in the corner. Textbook unselfish play.
And he nailed it, right?
Of course. That's what I mean about team basketball. They were patient, moved the ball, found the open man. Tough to defend against that.
No doubt. Okay, so next up, Sixers barely got past the Nets, 123 to 117. Embiid was a monster as usual, 33 points, 14 rebounds, 3 blocks.
Embiid's a force, yeah, but honestly, it was the chemistry between him and Harden that impressed me. Pick and roll, devastating. Nets had no answer.
Oh, I can imagine. Any particular examples come to mind?
Oh yeah, second quarter, Harden's got the ball. Embiid sets the screen. Harden drives. Nets defenders try to hedge Harden, leaves Embiid open for just a split second. Harden doesn't even look. Bounces the pass to Embiid. Slam dunk. Perfect execution.
It's a split-second decisions that make all the difference, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah. High-speed chess out there.
Okay, last game on the docket, Raptors just blew past the Bulls, 110 to 104. Siakam was phenomenal, 28 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists.
Oh yeah, Siakam was great. Showed his versatility for sure. But I gotta say, I think what really won it for the Raptors was that transition offense. They were relentless, pushing the pace, forcing turnovers, easy buckets before the Bulls could even set up their defense.
Love a good fast-paced game. Was there anything specific about their transition offense that you noticed?
Totally. Third quarter, Raptors force a turnover. Van Vliet grabs the ball, immediately pushing it up the court, finds Anunoby screaking toward the basket. Anunoby finishes with a monster dunk. Bulls just couldn't keep up. That speed and energy was too much.
It's the Raptors, right? Always hustling. Okay, so before we move on, gotta address the elephant in the room. Seems like the injury bug is hitting the Eastern Conference pretty hard.
Yeah, no kidding. Giannis, ankle sprain. Tatum, sore wrist. Brown, hamstring still up in the air. Embiid, knees acting up again. Harden, tweaked his hamstring. Siakam, back spasms. Van Vliet, groin still bothering him.
Wow, that's a lot. Think this could have a real impact on the playoff picture.
Oh, absolutely. These are key players we're talking about. You take them out, it changes everything. It's not even just about those star players being out. It's about depth and how will the guys step up.
So managing these injuries, finding ways to win without these key players, that's going to be crucial going forward.
Yeah, really interesting to watch how it plays out. The teams that can navigate this, they're the ones with a real shot.
Okay, so let's dive into the strategy a bit. What stood out to you about how these teams approach their matchups?
Well, like we talked about, the Bucks, that inside-out game, super effective. Giannis just dominates the paint. That creates those open shots for the perimeter guys. It's a classic strategy, but they execute it so well, it's tough to stop.
Yeah, and it's that precision that makes them so dangerous, right? They're not just relying on Giannis to carry them. They're using him to elevate the whole team.
Exactly. And then you've got the Celtics, their ball movement and unselfish play. They swing that ball around, make the extra pass, find the open man. Really shows their chemistry and understanding of the system.
And with shooters like Tatum and Brown, that ball movement is lethal, like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, they're not just playing iso ball, they're creating opportunities for each other. Makes them very hard to defend.
And of course, we can't forget the Sixers relying heavily on that Embiid Harden pick and roll. Simple play, but when they do it with their talent and chemistry, it's almost unstoppable.
Right, the pick and roll, it's all about creating those dilemmas for the defense. Do you hedge on Harden, leave Embiid open, double team Embiid, leave Harden open? It's tough.
It's chess, like you said. And the Sixers are playing it well. And finally, the Raptors. Their speed, their athleticism, just dominating in transition, like a blur out there.
Oh, the Raptors' transition offense is beautiful to watch. So quick, aggressive. They turn defense into offense in a heartbeat. And it's not just one or two guys. It's everyone contributing.
And that's what makes them so tough to play against, right? You never know where the next steal, rebound, fast break dunk is coming from. Keeps you on your toes. All right, let's talk about the upcoming matchups in the Eastern Conference. What are you most excited about?
Ooh, good question. Lots of good ones coming up.
Well, first up, you've got the Bucks and the Nets. That's a clash of tight ends, right?
Hmm.
Two offensive powerhouses going head to head. Can't wait to see how the Bucks D handles Durant and Irving and how the Nets try to contain Giannis.
Oh, that's going to be good. The Bucks, they have the size and athleticism to match up with the Nets, but the Nets have the firepower to punish any mistakes.
I agree. Going to be a high-scoring, high-intensity game. Okay, what else?
Well, then you've got the Celtics and the 76ers. Classic rivalry, right? But this season, both teams are playing at such a high level, it makes it even more interesting. Tatum versus Embiid. That's going to be the matchup to watch.
Absolutely. Two of the best going at it. Doesn't get much better.
And then we got the Heat and the Raptors. Heat looking to bounce back after that loss to the Celtics. Raptors, they're on a high after beating the Bulls.
Do you think the Raptors can keep that momentum going, or is the Heat's experience and star power going to be too much?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Raptors have the energy, the team play, could definitely pull off an upset. But the Heat, they've got the talent and the experience.
Going to be a battle, that's for sure. Okay, last one. We've got the Pacers and the Bulls, both fighting for playoff positioning. So this game, huge implications for both teams.
Yeah, Pacers have been playing well, but the Bulls, they can be dangerous when they're on. This one could go either way, I think. Depends on who can impose their will.
It's going to be a tight race down the stretch, that's for sure. Every game matters. All right, before we move on, I want to get your thoughts on something we haven't really touched on yet, the mental side of the game.
Oh, interesting. Go on.
We talked a lot about strategy, but what about mindset? How much do you think a player's mentality impacts their performance?
That's a great question. Yeah, the mental game, it's huge, especially in a league as competitive as the NBA. Confidence, focus, resilience, that can make all the difference, especially in those pressure situations.
Totally. You see it all the time. The players who are mentally tough, they perform better under pressure. They don't let mistakes get to them, stay focused even when things aren't going their way.
Yeah, it's like they have this unshakable belief in themselves. And that mental toughness, it's something you got to work on, just like physical skills, routines, staying positive, visualizing success, learning to manage stress, all of it.
And leadership too, right?
Wow.
A strong leader can really lift a team, especially when they're facing adversity.
Absolutely. The leader sets the tone, on and off the court, can be that calming influence, a motivator, that vocal presence that holds everyone accountable.
Like having a coach on the court, someone to rally the troops, keep everyone focused on the goal.
Exactly. That leadership, it can be just as important as any physical skill when it comes to winning championships.
So to our listener, as you watch these games, pay attention to the mental game, the toughness, the leadership, how they handle pressure.
Yeah, it's fascinating, often overlooked, but it can be the key to understanding why some players, some teams, succeed while others don't.
Well said. All right, before we dive into predictions and how these games might affect the playoff picture, let's take a moment to highlight those standout performances again.
Love it. Always good to celebrate individual brilliance.
For sure. So rewind time. First up, Giannis. Force of nature, as always.
That combination of size, strength, athleticism, it's unbelievable. When he's driving to the basket like that, there's almost no stopping him.
And he's not just scoring. He's facilitating, rebounding, playing defense, a complete player.
Yeah, one of those rare guys who can impact the game on both ends of the court. And then Jason Tatum. What a scoring clinic.
His footwork so smooth, his shot so pure, and he just has that knack for hitting those big shots when it matters most.
He's a natural scorer, that's for sure. But honestly, it's his composure that impresses me. Doesn't get rattled easily, always seems to make the right play.
And he's still so young. Scary to think how good he can get.
No kidding. He has the potential to be one of the all-time greats. Speaking of greats, Joel Embiid. Just dominant, as usual. Nightmare for other centers.
He can score inside, outside, great rebounder, and his defense has gotten so much better, the complete package.
And then that drive, that desire to win, it's incredible. He wants to be the best, and he's willing to put in the work to get there.
That's what separates the good from the great, right? And can't forget Pascal Siakam, one-man show for the Raptors.
He's so versatile, scores from anywhere, great passer, and his defense has improved so much. A true all-star.
And a great leader for that young Raptors team. His work ethic, his attitude sets the tone for everyone.
Yeah, he's the real deal. Okay, so just a few of the standout performers from this week in the East. So much talent in this league. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And it's only going to get more intense as we head towards the playoffs. All right, let's take a quick pause, and when we come back, we'll break down the playoff picture and make some predictions about how things might shake out. All right, welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about all those amazing performances, but now let's get into that playoff picture.
Oh yeah, it's getting tight. Every game matters now. Every win, every loss.
So set the scene for us. What's the current state of the East? Who's looking good? Who's got work to do?
Well, the Celtics, with that win over the Heat, they're looking like the team to beat, honestly. Balanced offense, solid defense, and they're playing with a ton of confidence right now.
They're on a roll for sure. What about the Bucks? Even with those close games, they're still a force, especially with Giannis leading the way.
The Bucks, they're always a threat, no doubt about it. But relying so heavily on Giannis, it could be a problem, especially if those injuries keep nagging him. They need others to step up consistently if they want to make a deep run in the playoffs.
That's a good point. What about the Nets? Even with the loss to the Sixers, they've still got the potential to be super dangerous.
On Nets, they're the wild card. Offensively, they can explode on any given night.
Yeah.
But their defense, inconsistent. And sometimes that reliance on iso ball, it can backfire. If they can find a way to play together, both ends of the court, then they can be a real contender.
Definitely a team to watch. Okay, the Sixers. They've been quietly climbing the standings. Embiid and Harden as potent as ever. Are they a real threat to come out of the East?
They're a team to keep an eye on, that's for sure. When Embiid and Harden are clicking, they're tough to stop. But they have weaknesses. Depth's a question mark. And they can struggle against teams with strong perimeter defense.
Interesting. It'll be fun to see how they do against those top teams down the stretch. What about the Raptors? They've been kind of under the radar, but they're starting to make some noise.
The Raptors, they're tough.
Yeah.
They play hard every night. They might not have the star power of some of those other contenders, but they make up for it with hustle, defense, and the ability to adapt to whoever they're playing against.
Yeah, they've got that underdog mentality, you know. That could definitely take them far. All right, so it's a tight race in the East. Lots of teams in the mix. Any bold predictions? Don't hold back.
Okay, I'll give you a few, but remember, these are just guesses. First, I think the Celtics are going to finish strong, top seed in the East. They're playing with a purpose right now. It's hard to ignore.
I can see that. They're playing some really good basketball. What else?
I think the Bucks, they're going to face some challenges, especially with the injuries. But I still think they'll make a deep playoff run. They're too talented, and Giannis is too driven to let them fall short.
Makes sense. Defending champs for a reason. Okay, last one. Give me something spicy.
Okay, hot take incoming. I think the Raptors are going to upset someone in the first round. Higher seed for sure. They're a team nobody wants to play against, and if they get hot at the right time, watch out.
Ooh, I like it. The Raptors is a dark horse. That would be fun to see. Okay, let's circle back to those key matchups you mentioned earlier. Bucks, Nets, Celtics, Sixers, Heat, Raptors, and Pacers, Bulls. Each one could be a real turning point. What are you watching for in each of those games?
Okay, well, the Bucks and the Nets, that's going to be all about style. The Bucks, they want to slow it down, control the paint, make the Nets take tough shots. The Nets, they want to run, spread the floor, get their shooters open. Classic clash of styles, really.
Right.
Whoever dictates the tempo, executes their game plan better, they'll win.
So it's strength versus speed, control versus chaos. Love it. What about the Celtics and the 76ers? Key factors there.
Celtics, Sixers. Always a physical game. Always intense. The key there is going to be Tatum versus Embiid. They're going to go at each other all night. Whoever wins that matchup, they're probably going to have a huge impact on the game. Celtics have the edge in depth and shooting. Sixers have size and that inside scoring.
A battle of wills, then. This one could go down to the wire.
I think so. Rivalry game, high stakes. Both teams going to leave it all out there. And then you've got the Heat and the Raptors. Heat, they rely on experience, veteran leadership. Raptors, young, hungry, lots of energy.
I think the Heat's experience will be enough to overcome that youth and energy.
Tough to say. Heat have the talent, the coaching, definitely could win. But the Raptors could disrupt things, force mistakes. You never know.
So there's a chance for an upset.
There's always a chance.
Mhm.
The Raptors, especially at home, they're tough. They'll pressure the Heat, try to force turnovers, get out in transition.
It'll be interesting to see how those different styles match up.
Mm.
Okay, last one. Pacers Bulls, two teams fighting for their playoff lives. What are you expecting?
Oh, this one's all about desperation. Yeah, both teams need this win. They'll be playing with urgency. Pacers have the talent, the depth, but the Bulls, they can get hot from outside. You can't underestimate them.
So who wants it more?
Exactly. These late season games, it's about mental toughness, about executing under pressure. The teams that can handle that, make the big plays down the stretch, those are the teams that are going to succeed.
Lots of great games coming up, and the playoff race is wide open.
Oh, yeah. Going to be a wild finish to the season.
Can't wait. Now, before we get to our final thoughts, I want to take a step back for a second. Something I've been thinking about.
Okay, what is it?
We've talked about individual players, strategies, the playoff race, but I want to zoom out a bit, look at the bigger picture. We're seeing basketball evolve right in front of us. Teams are trying new styles, new lineups, new ways to play offense and defense.
Well, yeah, the game's changing fast, and it's getting faster all the time. It's what keeps it exciting, right? The traditional big man's disappearing, three-pointers are more important than ever, the pace is so much quicker.
It's a new era of basketball. So what do you think? What are the biggest factors driving this evolution?
Well, I think it's a few things. Analytics, for sure. Teams are using data now more than ever. Player personnel, strategies, everything. They're realizing that three-pointers are more efficient, spacing is crucial, ball movement is essential.
It's like basketball has become a science, right? Data-driven decisions.
Exactly. And then I think the influx of international players has had a big impact. They bring a different skill set, a different style of play. American players have had to adapt.
So the NBA has become this melting pot of styles, and it's making the game more dynamic.
For sure. And then there are the rule changes. Things like getting rid of hand checking. It's made it easier for players to drive to the basket. More scoring, faster pace.
So it's analytics, international players, and rule changes all coming together.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating to see how it's all shaping the future of the game.
So with the game changing so fast, what are the big trends to watch for? What's coming next?
Well, I think three-point shooting is going to stay important. But defenses will adapt too, maybe more zone defenses or ways to limit those open three-point looks.
So it's like an arms race between offense and defense, each one trying to outsmart the other.
Exactly. And I think we're going to see more positionless basketball. Versatility is key. See with guys like Giannis and Doncic, they can play anywhere.
So it's not just about size anymore. It's about skill, athleticism, and being able to adapt.
Yep. And the pace, I think it's just going to keep getting faster. More scoring, more action.
A faster, more dynamic, more unpredictable game. Sounds exciting.
It is. The future of basketball is bright.
I agree. Great time to be a fan. All right, time for our final thoughts, something for our listeners to ponder.
Okay, hit me with it.
Well, we've talked a lot about the evolution of the game, but I think it's important to remember that the core principles of basketball haven't changed. It's still about teamwork, skill, athleticism, and the desire to win.
Yeah, the fundamentals never go away, no matter how much the game changes.
Exactly. So as you watch these games, all the amazing talent out there, remember those fundamental principles behind it all.
Those principles are what make basketball so great.
Well said. So to our listeners, keep watching, keep learning, keep appreciating the game.
And until next time, keep those hoops dreams alive.
All right, that's it for this week's deep dive into the Eastern Conference. We'll be back next week with another episode, new topics, new insights. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those conversations going. It really makes you think, doesn't it, how much the game has changed.
Yeah, and it's not slowing down, that's for sure.
Okay, well, before we get too caught up in the future, we do have that final thought for our listeners. We've covered a lot, players, strategies, the playoffs, how the game's evolving. But there's one more thing, something I kept thinking about.
What's that?
Well, it's not so much a fact, more of a question, really. We talk about what makes a team successful, the talent, the coaches, the game plan. But what about the stuff you can't measure?
You mean like the chemistry, the
Yeah.
leadership, that resilience, that grit, those things that can make or break a team, especially when the pressure's on.
Exactly. You see it all the time. A team that maybe doesn't look that great on paper ends up exceeding expectations because they have that something special, that thing that brings them together, helps them overcome those tough moments. So to our listener, here's what we want you to think about. What do you think are the most important qualities of a championship team? The things you can't see in the stats.
It's a good question, for sure. is that belief in each other, being able to communicate even when things get heated, the kind of leadership that pushes people to be their best.
Or maybe it goes even deeper than that. A shared sense of purpose, a real connection off the court, a culture of winning that just permeates the whole organization.
All those things, they matter. It might not be one thing, maybe it's a combination, a recipe that makes a championship team.
And that recipe, it's different for every team, every season. That's what makes sports so great. No easy answers. It's a constant journey, a search for that winning formula. And that's what keeps us coming back.
It's true. So listener, as you keep watching the NBA, don't just focus on the highlights. Look for those little things, the way players interact, the energy on the bench, how they respond when things get tough. That's where you might find some answers.
And maybe, just maybe, by figuring out those intangible qualities, you can use those same ideas in your own life, your own teams, your own goals, because those lessons we learn from sports, they go way beyond the game itself.
It's a great point. It's been awesome breaking down this Eastern Conference action with you.
And to you, listener, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back next week with a whole new episode. More topics, more insights, more questions to explore. Until then, keep that curiosity going. Keep learning. Keep those conversations happening.